up, everybody? Welcome to the Trust Your Board podcast. My name's Stephen Wright, joined by Will Monroe. Got another mini mock episode here for you today. Will, what are we doing?
Steve, today we have a 10-team standard mini mock. You'll be drafting out of the 5 spot, and I'll be drafting out of the 9 spot.
Awesome. Ready to get started?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I don't know if we've done too many standards. This might be like the second standard mock I've done all year. So
yeah, there's still a few people out there doing standard.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm in the 5 spot. We had Christian McCaffrey, Zeke Elliott, Saquon Barkley, and Michael Thomas go off the board for the first 4 picks. And in a standard league, it makes this decision a lot more interesting. So I'm looking at 2 players primarily, one being Derrick Henry and one being Nick Chubb. I feel like I might be leaning maybe too heavily into the standard bit here, but in a standard without the PPR, I would take them both over Kamara. Worried about the touchdown upside with Kamara, potentially, with Latavius Murray sitting there. Plus, you have the injury concerns that came out recently as well. You have Dalvin Cook with the, still the holdout potential. Is that still a thing, Will? I feel like nobody's talking about it anymore.
I think it technically is still a thing, but I think they all kind of just assume that it's okay now, or that he's going to play. But I haven't, like you said, I haven't heard anything in a while about it.
Yeah, fair. So it's between Henry and Chubb. I really want to draft Chubb because I think his just upside's immense this year. But I feel like Henry's a safer pick. Chubb could end up as an RB2 again, potentially. And I say again because he was an RB2 once Hunt returned last year. That's in the cards, right? I don't think Henry's really going to fall off. So going to go ahead and lock in Mr. Derrick Henry here. After that pick, we have Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, and Dalvin Cook. So maybe you're looking at Chubb here.
Yeah, the running backs go off the board quick here in the standard league. And it's interesting because I still have a lot of the top receivers. Adams, Tyreek Hill still here. We have Julio, DeAndre Hopkins, Chris Godwin. So if they're looking at a top 6, only Michael Thomas is gone. So if I do plan on going with, one receiver, more than likely going to wait on the turn since I'll still get one of those guys next. But if I'm going to go running back, I've got Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs still there, Sanders, Aaron Jones. It's tough. I mean, I think Chubb's probably the pick here at the 9 spot. There were some running backs. Kamara probably would have taken Cook over him. Mixon, I don't know. But other than that, I think other than Mixon, I think he's probably the pick there. So I think we're probably going to go Nick Chubb here. And we'll see what receivers get back, if any. So we have Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs go off the board. So next we have still at wide receiver position. We have Tyreek Hill and Julio Jones. Chris Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins. So a lot of receivers available there. Running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Miles Sanders, Aaron Jones. Kenyon Drake still there, so there's still a lot of running backs I like as well. It's hard to pass on Clyde. I knew we were talking him up in previous drafts. He's probably the running back I'd go with, but it just feels weird taking him over Sanders and Drake, 2 guys that I really like as well. Especially, with Julio and Tyreek Hill on the board still, but I think the wide receiver position probably gets a little devalued in a draft like this with, standard scoring. You want to get those running backs in. So I think we're going to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, pair him with the safety of a Chubb here and see what comes back to us. So after that goes Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, and then Aaron Jones to you, bud.
Yeah, it's a shame. I was really hoping Tyreek Hill would fall, but what can you do? So at the running back position, we have Miles Sanders, Kenyon Drake, Austin Eckler, Chris Carson, and Todd Gurley. At the wide receiver position, Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay, and Mike Evans. So plenty of solid options here. I will go ahead and grab my first wide receiver. I want to try to strike a little bit of balance here. Give me some flexibility moving forward. And Julio Jones is going to be my guy. There's nothing bad to say about him outside of he's hurt all the time, but doesn't actually miss any time. So I'm going to lock him in here. Give me flexibility moving forward. I don't know if we're going to continue with the, running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, running back. I don't know if we're going to do that. We'll see what kind of value falls to me, but I'm comfortable with a lot of the running backs remaining in a standard league. So we're going to go ahead, lock him in there. Pat Mahomes goes off the board right after that. Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler, Chris Godwin go off the board to round out the second. Kenny Golladay, Allen Robinson, OBJ, and Travis Kelce go off the board in the third. It's pretty early for OBJ for what we've been seeing lately, but the person I did not see go off the board, amazingly so, is Kenyon Drake. His ADP is at 21, so this is definitely a fall. I guess to a degree it makes some sense. We had, Team 2 and Team 3 went running back heavy with both their early picks, so going with another wide receiver, it makes some sense. So I can understand the fall. I will put an end to that fall because I was considering him with my second pick. So him falling to the third is amazing value. So we're going to go ahead, just lock him up. There's nothing really more to say. So after that, we had Lamar Jackson go up the board, Mike Evans, and George Kittle.
All right. So top 2 quarterbacks, top 2 tight ends off the board. Both would probably be in consideration, but with them off the board, they're not looking at any position. So looking at wide receivers, we have Amari Cooper, A.J. Brown, Adam Thielen, Juju Smith-Schuster, DJ Moore, Ridley, Woods. So you're signing in that tier of wide receiver. Running back, we still have Chris Carson, Todd Gurley, Leonard Fournette, James Conner, Melvin Gordon. So I think here I probably am going to strike at one of the last running backs I'm pretty comfortable with, and Chris Carson. Probably would be Chris Carson or Leonard Fournette for me here. Actually, you know what? We'll switch it up. We'll go Leonard Fournette this time. I'm rising on him a little more recently, and I do think Chris Carson's going to have a good year as well. But Leonard Fournette just really no competition at all, and we'll see what happens there. I think they're going to ride him into the ground. He's on a contract year. They're probably not going to sign him, so probably not a ton of incentive to keep him around. So we'll go. Do we have flex positions here, Steve?
Yeah, we do. The normal 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 2 flex.
Gotcha. So we'll go Leonard Fournette first, and then we'll see the turn here goes Mark Cooper and Mark Andrews. So looking back here at the wide receiver position, likely next. Chris Carson's still there. Actually, does give pause. Going for running backs, especially with some uncertainty in Clyde, would be pretty nice. Chubb, Hilaire, Carson, and Fournette. And I'm not super thrilled with any of the running backs. DJ Moore, is awesome. I like Robert Woods and Kupp. Probably not taking them here. It's probably just DJ Moore that would be an option here. Maybe a Zach Ertz. But I think in this, we'll see what happens if we go 4 running backs in a 10-teamer here. And then what kind of receiver are you looking at here at the end of the 5th round as your first receiver? So we'll go with Chris Carson as a 4th running back. After him, Cooper Kupp, Todd Gurley, A.J. Brown. To you.
Okay, so on the clock at the running back position, we got James Conner, Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Taylor, David Johnson, Mark Ingram. At wide receiver, Adam Thielen, Juju Smith-Schuster, DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods. Got all our quarterbacks on the board outside of Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, and all our tight ends outside of Kelce, Kittle, and Andrews. Quarterback still is in play, given it's a 10-team league. You can get a little bit of positional advantage, and with Kyler and Dak up there, Watson for some, you're definitely going to get that advantage. Russell Wilson, of course. Tight end, it's kind of dropping off. You're exiting that top tier. Ertz still an option, but you're moving out of that tier. For me, I will avoid those positions there. At the running back position, I do like some of the options. James Conner's interesting. Melvin Gordon's interesting. Jonathan Taylor's not bad. David Johnson's okay. In a standard league, that kind of hurts. I'm not as interested there. Lev Bell and his volume's nice. I could probably wait on all them. So I do think I'll end up grabbing a wide receiver. It would normally be a smash DJ Moore play here if we're doing any sort of PPR, but in a standard league, I think I give a little bit more credence to Juju who I really haven't drafted at all this year because I like a lot of the options around him, and there are some concerns if Big Ben doesn't work out. So we'll do something a little bit different. We'll go ahead and draft Juju. He's got a lot of standard league upside, and we'll see what happens. And more importantly, we're taking a wide receiver off the board from Will in his gamble waiting to the 5th. So go ahead. Let's lock into Mr. Juju here. And a nice little wide receiver run. Adam Thielen, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, and Jonathan Taylor go off the board to round out the 4th. Starting the 5th, we have Zach Ertz, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, and James Conner. That's a shame. I really would have liked Zach Ertz to get back to me, but what can you do? At the wide receiver position, we have Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett, Cortland Sutton, DJ Chark. Plenty of options for Will here at the back of the 5th. I'm sure you're happy seeing that. So I will go ahead and grab another running back. I have established this kind of back and forth draft, which wasn't my intention, but lo and behold, here we are. So I will go ahead and it's pretty much the same options I went over before. We won't go over them again, but I'm going to draft Melvin Gordon here. Another player I haven't had too many shares of, but in a standard league, David Johnson's going to be hurt a little bit because of the pass catching upside. And last time we saw him as a runner, it wasn't the greatest thing in the world. Ingram's a little bit older. Lev Bell, solid kind of volume play, but I think Gordon has higher upside, as I think the Broncos offense has higher upside. So that's why I'm leading Gordon there. So we'll go ahead. We will lock him in. See what kind of running wide receivers get to you here, Will. Right after my pick, we had Calvin Ridley. There goes Dak Prescott and David Johnson.
That is beautiful. There's a couple guys I was hoping to get back, but one a little more than others. You may be able to guess it here, Steve, and that's Mr. Robert Woods. Beautiful to have him as my top receiver here with 4 running backs already on the team, and then really just be looking to load up on some upside guys. You got DJ Chark, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Parker, bunch of nice receivers to be able to pair with him later in the draft. So that would kind of be what my plan of attack is here. If any running backs fall value wise, you look to them, but load up on the wide receiver position here, and maybe if they have a value at quarterback or tight end. But as most people know, we usually late drafters there. So we'll lock in Mr. Robert Woods here as my 5th pick, first wide receiver off the board, and that'll run us out here for the draft.
Touch on my team first here at the running back position, or we'll just start and run straight down. So with the 105, we went with Derrick Henry. The 2nd, Julio. The 3rd, Kenyon Drake. The 3rd, Juju. And the 5th, Melvin Gordon. I like this team. It's very well balanced, obviously. That's going to happen when you're going back and forth with your picks. But it's an interesting team in that it's got some players I don't normally draft. I haven't been drafting Derrick Henry because all ours have had some sort of PPR format. And there's always somebody I like ahead of where his ADP is. I have been drafting Juju kind of for the same reason. I'd rather take DJ Moore. Melvin Gordon I have drafted here and there. He kind of falls on that tier with Lev Bell, David Johnson, and it really just depends on the day for who I'm going to side with. So solid, but overall, I like it. You got a lot of upside with this team. I think a fair relative amount of safety as well. So it's an overall pretty solid team. I like to start. How do you feel about your RB heavy team there?
Pretty good, actually. I was a little worried at first, but Nick Chubb at the 109, Clyde Edwards-Helaire 202, Leonard Fournette 309, and Chris Carson 402 with Robert Woods, first receiver there at the 509. So the gamble is, are you going to get a receiver that you like, enough to be able to build a receiving core around that, it doesn't have to be an elite wide receiver. You still want to get some value there with just the volatility that comes with running backs year to year. But, it seems like I'm able to get, not, that top tier, first 3 guys, likely, 2 running backs in that next tier at, 9 and that would be 12. And then, if, probably look to go, most drafts, running back receiver in that 3-4 range. But, if I get a Fournette and a Carson to both fall, even a guy like Drake that fell to you in the 3rd, there's definitely value falling at running back. So the way it falls, I'm pretty happy with the 4 running backs there. Even if one of them falters, I've got a lot of depth at that position, and it's always sought after in trades as well. So pretty happy with that team.
Yeah, and if you look, I mean, you're on the clock right now. Wide receivers: Tyler Lockett, Cortland Sutton, T.J. Chark, McLaurin. You got a lot of options.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're getting one good guy in Woods, and it's dropping off. So you have plenty of good options there.
Yeah, and then I'd like to be able to, get that one safe guy there. There's some other safe options there. I think Woods is just a stud. Has a chance to be a wide receiver 1, but should at least be a wide receiver 2. And then you take your upside shots, you mentioned, in Chark, McLaurin, Park, amongst some many other guys there.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up today's episode. Tune in tomorrow for another mini mock. In the meantime, trust your board.